Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
There'll be a brief ad at the end of this video. Now, this is one of those stories sent to me by everybody. Arizona renter says he was fined $4,000 for leaving negative reviews about property. But is that legal? And the answer, of course, is no, it's not. We're done here. No. James Havers wrote this for MoneyWise and says that a man and his wife moved into a condo last year in Scottsdale, Arizona. Supposed to be a short-term rental to serve as a comfortable landing pad while they search for their next home. They say they found black mold and unfinished repairs. So they said they posted honest online reviews, and then they got hit with a bill for $4,000. They say that's because buried deep in the 21-page lease that they had signed, it said that if tenants posted negative reviews of them, that is the landlord, they would get charged $2,000 per negative post. And they actually defined it as saying online reviews rated less than 3 stars. So the man is now sounding the alarm about an issue many renters might not know is illegal. Companies penalizing customers for honest feedback. He told 12 News, reviews are how we hold companies accountable, so corrupting the review process is absolutely unlawful. And of course, he's talking about the Consumer Review Fairness Act. This law got passed back in 2016 and actually protects U.S. consumers from this kind of retaliation. So it is a federal statute, which we'll talk about in a minute, because I've not heard much talk about it. But then again, there are some issues with how it gets enforced. So here's what happened in this case. The man and his wife sold their home in 2023 and signed a lease at a nearby condo managed by a real estate company. They moved quickly, hoping to give themselves a comfortable cushion of time before their official move-out date. But things went south fast. We lifted a piece of furniture in the master bedroom. There was a patch of black mold. So the couple left immediately and asked the landlord to fix the issue. When they returned, he says the problems weren't fixed. There were holes in the walls, sections of carpet were missing, and carpet tacks were exposed on the floor. Fed up with what he described as unresponsiveness from the company, he went on Google and Yelp and reviewed the company. So after posting his 2 reviews, he then got hit with, in essence, 2 $2,000 non-disparagement penalties. The lease prohibits, and this is a quote, negative online reviews, negative ratings of 3 out of 5 stars or less, and negative posts on all social media and review platforms. Violating the clause triggers a $2,000 fine per occurrence. Now, there's that statute. The CRFA makes it illegal for companies to enforce contract clauses that punish consumers for honest reviews, whether online or off, which means if you post a truthful review, a company cannot legally fine, threaten, or retaliate against you for it, even if it's negative. And this is a law that the Federal Trade Commission and attorney generals can seek to enforce. The Federal Trade Commission has brought enforcement actions against businesses that try to use these clauses in contracts. So violators can face civil penalties and court orders. And so if you're a renter or customer, it means you cannot be fined or penalized for a review just because it's negative. You can file complaints to the Federal Trade Commission, your state's AG, and of course, the Better Business Bureau. But keep in mind, the Better Business Bureau has no enforcement powers here. You should save documentation if you plan to dispute the charge. As of publication, the man has filed complaints with the Arizona AG's office and says he plans to contact the Federal Trade Commission. Now, here's the thing. After the TV station reached out to the real estate company, the real estate company, issued a statement saying it takes all feedback seriously and has submitted its lease agreement for legal review. A few hours later, the company said it would remove the non-disparagement clause from its contracts immediately. The company claims it made multiple attempts to fix issues at the condo, but says that the tenants repeatedly denied access to contractors and repair teams. Now, the tenant disputes that version of events, says the property remains uninhabitable with storm damage and even animal feces present inside the unit. I'm always curious, what kind of animals? Domestic ones or wild ones? Whatever the outcome, what happened to this man is part of a broader issue facing renters and consumers in general. So there is a thing called the Consumer Review Fairness Act. You can look this up on the FTC.gov website. In fact, if you simply type into Google Consumer Review Fairness Act, you'll find explainers where the FTC tells you all about it. And in their words, the Consumer Review Fairness Act protects people's ability to share their honest opinions about a business's products, services, or conduct in any forum, including social media. And so if you run a company, you want to make sure your company's not violating this. And if you encounter this, you have to understand these things are not enforceable. Although they might still come after you, but then you'd have to take care of it. So here's what I'm talking about. Contracts that prohibit honest reviews or threaten legal action because of them harm people who rely on reviews, and it also harms consumers who don't get to hear what's going on out there. So the Consumer Review Fairness Act was passed in response to reports that some businesses try to prevent people from giving honest reviews about products or services. So basic tips are, it is illegal for a company to use a contract provision that bars or restricts the ability of a person who is a party to that contract to review a company's products, services, or conduct. It is also illegal to impose a penalty or fee against someone who gives a review, or it's also illegal to require people to give up their intellectual property rights in the content of their reviews. So the Consumer Review Fairness Act makes it illegal for companies to include standardized provisions that threaten or penalize people for posting honest reviews. But keep in mind that the way the statute is written, enforcement authority lies with the Federal Trade Commission and state attorneys general, period. So that means is that you got to complain to the feds, you got to complain to your state AG, and your state AG may or may not be buried with complaints about this. But the point is that if you were to go to court over this and somebody tried to enforce that fee against you, you can point out that the fee itself is illegal. But I don't think you've got the legal right to, say, sue them for it, because the enforcement of the statute doesn't lie with individuals. It lies with the AGs or the FTC. And I'm a little disappointed in that, because a lot of times there are statutes out there to protect consumers where they'll say Federal Trade Commission, AG's office, or individual actions if someone can prove they were harmed by this, and they'll have a statutory minimum. They'll say, this happens to you, you can sue and you get $500 plus your attorney fees or something. And that way people can file the lawsuits themselves and go after it that way. However, what I think is possible here is that if somebody said, hey, you owe me money, and you say, no, I don't. They say, well, you owe it just because you wrote a bad review. And you say, well, it's illegal to do that. And they say, we don't think so, and they take your money. The question is, if you were to sue them to get your money back, or if they sued you, I know you could raise it as a defense, obviously. But the question is, could you sue them to get your money back and point to this? And there's a good chance you could, but that would have to be in a situation where they already took the money from you. So, interestingly, the law is on the books, and I think a lot of companies probably have not heard about it. And in fact, the Federal Trade Commission actually has a section entitled, how to make sure your company complies with this law. Because I think they understand that getting word out about a statute, not just getting the word out to the people it helps, but getting word out to the people that need to be following it is important. So that's what's going on there. But the guy was fined $4,000 for leaving a negative review, and I believe it was taken off his credit card. And so there, he shouldn't have much trouble getting it back from his credit card people, I wouldn't think. But you never know. I've heard of people who had crazy things happen with credit cards and they got the money right back. And other people who had, really, really good claims and couldn't get their money back for a while. So we'll see what happens. But as of right now, the guy was fined $4,000 because he left a negative review. TV station got involved and pointed out there's a statute. And they said, we're going to have a lawyer look at our lease. And the lawyer came back, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, strike that. So if you sign a document that contains that language, you should be aware that it's not enforceable. And keep in mind that it is against the law for the companies to use those contract provisions. But like anything else, laws and how they're enforced is the important thing. And the way the enforcement works, generally speaking, is the Attorney General of your state or the Federal Trade Commission. But like I said, I'm sure you can raise it as a defense and go that way also. So there you go. To everybody who sent that to me, thank you very much. That story was from James Havers at MoneyWise. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye. I mentioned that there'd be an ad at the end of the video, and here we are. We're here to talk about Factor. I've told you about Factor before many times. I love Factor. Factor makes meeting your nutrition goals easier than ever by delivering fresh, never frozen, dietitian-approved meals right to your doorstep. The team of gourmet chefs create each meal using only ingredients with integrity to help you feel your best all day long. You know, summer is officially here. It got warm a while back, but summertime is officially here. And with it, beautiful weather outside. Want to get outside and do stuff. I got work to do outside. I got things to do when I'm done work and I want to go outside and play. I have more important things to do than to try to gather all the ingredients for a complicated meal. But I'd still like to eat well. I would like to eat well. So you can eat stress-free with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. And as I always do, down in the corner right there is me. The day I get the box, the moment I get the box of meals, I bring it inside, put it on the counter, cut it open, throw it in the oven, microwave, 2 minutes. 2 minutes later. So it's kind of funny that basically I get the box, open it up, and as I put the things away, the meals away, I cook the first meal. And it's done by the time I'm putting everything away. It's amazing how fast this is. So choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular options like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, Vegan, and Veggie, and also more than 60 add-ons every week, like breakfast, on-the-go lunch, snacks, beverages to help you stay fueled and feel good all day long. So no need to wait. Get started today and fuel up your summertime goals because summertime is here. Head to factor75.com or click the link below. Use code 50 Lehto's Law to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50 Lehto's Law at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And one thing I can tell you is in the summertime, my schedule's all over the place. Some days I'm running around like a chicken with no head. Other days I got all the time in the world. But also it varies from week to week. So Factor is flexible. And that's one of the cool things about this. I've talked to a lot of people now who've taken my advice and tried Factor. And I've heard from people who said, Steve, not only do I love the food, but I love how flexible they are because you can change your order up every week with plans from 4 to 18 meals per week. Take your pick. You can also pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. So it is completely flexible. It's up to you. They will make it work for you. And that's why I like Factor so much. So the box you watched me unpack like a child at Christmas just a moment ago contained these meals. Cheddar and chive pork chop, that was a good one. Horseradish crusted chicken, I believe is the one I made when I shot the video. Chicken Florentine, roasted tomato and feta cavatappi, stroganoff-style beef burger, and sun-dried tomato and spinach fusilli. And one of the interesting things is that the way I am, I tend to eat really, really boring. And then my Factor meals arrive, and suddenly it's like a different meal every single time, and it's meals that I enjoy, but I would never make for myself otherwise. Because if I wanted to figure out how to make the roasted tomato and feta cavatappi, I suppose I could look the recipe up and then go to the store and buy all the ingredients and then make a gigantic mess and make it and then eat it and then clean it up. And by the time I'm done with everything, I've just spent a big portion of my day where I have better things to be doing because, like I said, it's summer out there. I got I got things to do, places to be, and meal planning and prep is not something I want to spend my time on. I want to eat well, but then have time to enjoy my day. So again, head to factor75.com. Click the link below and use code 50 Lehto's Law to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50 Lehto's Law at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. I love my Factor.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. I'd advise no one look directly at me.